Alright, let's talk about The Enchanted Boy. This is another Russian movie. Um, if you've been paying attention, the last time I reviewed a Russian movie, I kind of started complaining a bit that they're kind of lacking in like the personality department. Um, I just felt for the last couple movies that there's kind of a soul missing from these, or I don't know. That's putting it a little harshly, but still, I felt that there was just something missing in the character department and stuff. Um, yeah, personality. That's the key word. But this time, I think there actually was a fair little bit of personality. It wasn't like Disney level, but yeah, this one did have some unique quirks to it. It still kind of had some of that Russian fairy tale, those old Russian fairy tale vibes to it, but it still managed to be like a very entertaining story, and it had some decently likable characters. Um, so the film stars this young boy who lives on a farm. He's kind of a brat. He kind of picks on the geese they have on the farm, and then you know he uh, he procrastinates from his homework and all that crap. Um, yeah, he's a brat. Um, and then he runs into this gnome, and then he kind of traps the gnome, and he like makes him first he makes him finish his homework for him. So yeah, one of those kids. And then he wishes for him to make him make him just like the gnome. I can't remember the exact subtitles. It's the usual Russian speak where they don't say things exactly like us Americans do. Um, but yeah, he wishes that the gnome will make him just like the gnome, and obviously he meant that he wishes he had like magic powers like the gnome, but instead the gnome makes him small like the gnome. So yeah, he's the gnome size, and then he gets into a bit of a scuffle with the geese he's been picking on earlier. What TV tropes refers to as the dog bites back. Um, and then he flies away with there's a goose that he has a name for. I think it's Martin. He flies away with Martin, and then they join a flock of geese flying south or something, and then I don't know. Along the way, they kind of go on an adventure. The boy runs into the gnome again, and the gnome basically tells him, "Nope, I can't reverse the spell." He tells him that he can only reverse it under once a couple things happen. Um, so yeah, the boy just kind of goes with the geese, and he happens to come across these things. The first thing he needs to do is they gotta lure a bunch of rats out of this castle. The rats are like tormenting these storks. So yeah, they gotta lure the rats, and to do that, they make a flute, and it's Pied Piper stuff. So yeah, the boy plays the flute. He leads the rats out of there. Briefly, he trips and falls over. He drops the flute, and then the rats are like, "Rip him apart!" And I love how it looks like it's about to this chase scene or something is going to start up. but then like an owl snatches the flute out of the rat's hands, and then the boy gets the flute back, and then he starts playing it again. So it's like just a brief moment, but I like how that subverts the usual the usual cliches that you might see in a lot of these movies. And then he leads them into the lake, and they drown. So yeah, this kid's got a body count apparently. So the next thing, they go to this village. It kind of looks like it's in France because they're resting on what looks like Notre Dame. And then the boy comes across this statue made of bronze of this king. And then the statue comes to life, and then he comes across another statue, a wooden sculpture of a fisherman. Basically, some of these conditions that he has to fulfill in order to be big again, they're kind of confusing to, like, say out loud. Like, you read the subtitles, and it's kind of hard to follow exactly what they're saying, but, there's this stuff with the two statues interacting, and then the fisherman statue leads the king statue to, like, the dock where this wrecked ship is seen, and I don't know, they like try to pay their respects, and the boy reveals himself, but then the king statue can't do anything. Like the king statue's been going after the boy for disrespecting him when he saw the statue. It's hard to some of these things are a little hard to explain out loud, but it makes sense when you watch the movie. But yeah, then he tells the king statue that he's too late. He only has 3 minutes to get back to where he was. And yeah, apparently at the stroke of 3, he turns back into a frozen statue. But yeah, I really like the effects of the statues. And yeah, they looked really cool. The king statue also had a very commanding voice. So yeah, I like that little touch. It was a cool scene, even if it was a little hard to follow, but again, it'll make a little more sense if you watch the movie. You get the gist of what's going on. And then the third condition is that the boy will only know the third condition after he fulfills the first two, and so they just go home, and finally he meets the gnome again, and he tells him that the third condition is that basically his friend gets eaten. What's the goose's name? Martin. Yeah, basically the third condition is supposed to be that Martin gets eaten. And, the boy decides he doesn't want Martin to get eaten, so he goes back to the farm and saves Martin. And, he's like, I'd rather be small for the rest of my life than, for Martin to die, or, And then the gnome makes him big again anyway, because he did that selfless act. So, yeah, basically this movie is like a journey, a little bit of a character arc. The boy starts out as a complete brat, but he learns, humility and, just being a good person over the course of the movie. And that's a cool little thing. For a movie as old as this one, I do like the character arc that the kid goes through. So yeah, this was kind of what I was hoping for from Russia. Something with a little personality, and also I forgot to mention there's let me see, the characters still appear to be rotoscoped, but they look more cartoony now. The boy has like the when a cartoon character has like dot eyes. I'll bring up Tintin as an example. He has like dot eyes, and the boy looks kind of similar to Tintin actually, and although his hair is just a little bit crazier, it's like a big spike in the front. I do like the design of the kid. So yeah, it's I thought this was pretty good. Again, it's not really at the level of most of Disney's movies so far, but I do think it was a legitimately enjoyable little film, and yeah, I would definitely recommend it to anyone who is interested. So yeah, I think 7 out of 10 is a fitting enough rating for this. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how Russia continues to evolve with their animated films. So yeah, glad I saw this one. Mash it and smash it, signing off.